Welcome back to the shop, friends. So today I'm going to show you something that's going to translate to lots of different vehicles, and that's how to compress and deal with springs. Most of your cars, you're going to have some sort of a spring or a strut on the front. And those suspension components you can easily change yourself, and a lot of guys are kind of intimidated by that because how do you deal with these super high tensile, high pressure springs without a bunch of specialty tools? The nice thing, there's two things that have changed the world, I think, for common guys like us, and that's Harbor Freight and YouTube. You can go to Harbor Freight now and you can buy specialty tools that used to be out of reach. You would have to go to either borrow them from a garage or a dealership or buy something, you know, from a specific manufacturer that was just super expensive. And when you are going to use something every 5 years, to me, it just doesn't make any sense to dump a ton of money into it. Now, if you're a shop, that's a whole different thing, right? So for spring compression, and I bought these things, good grief, I bought these things 20 years ago. This is definitely a Harbor Freight special made in China, but this is just a kind of a generic spring compressor that you can use for any one of those projects and do it pretty safely. So let's chalk it up, and then we'll get the spring off, and I'll kind of explain to you why we're doing what we're doing. Actually, a little context might be kind of nice, huh? Summer's coming up here, and riding season's going to come pretty soon. I'm watching the snow melting really quickly on all of our riding areas, and I completely go through everything on my bike. I tore it all the way down to the frame. I re-greased all the bearings, check all the parts, plugs, change all the fluids, just check everything out. I'm super anal on maintenance on these. So this particular shock, of course, is the rear shock, which fits in there, and it's too light for me. On your motorcycles, they're going to be set up like the KTMs and the Husqvarnas for a 165 to 180 pound rider. Now, when I figured all my gear, I put all my gear on the other day, and I got on the scales, and I came in at 240 pounds. So it's undersprung. I'm bottoming out. I've even upgraded the spring, one spring higher than the one that came with it, and it's still not working for me. So I'm going to go up one more spring number. So that's kind of what we're doing here today. And I thought I'd share it with you because it does translate to a lot of things you're going to run into. So first things first, we're going to want to get as much spring off or tension off that spring as possible. So this is just a little keeper. This is just a pincher. So this red thing right here, this is a deal that you can custom tailor, set the sag, the suspension for your spring. And so this is a special tool that fits in there. You can use a hammer and a chisel and a punch and all that, but it does tear it all up. So we'll use this tool. So it is quickly becoming apparent that I don't need a spring compressor. I could back the threads off, it's already loose. I guess if you wanted to keep your preload on there, you could do that. Here, but I'm going to show you anyway, so because you're going to run into places where it's not going to work so easy. So with your spring compressors now, whenever you're using anything that's threaded, that's any sort of a puller that you're going to be putting tremendous force on, make sure that you use a little bit of this stuff right here. It's anti-seize. Lots of different manufacturers, one not better than the other that I know of, but what it does is it lubricates the threads and prevents it from galling and getting ruined. So whenever you're using your spring pullers, you want to make sure something like that. If nothing else, just put a little grease on it if that's all you have. But how these spring compressors will work is they've got the hooks on them, right? And so you'd hook it underneath, you're going to hook it underneath the spring there, and then we wouldn't want to hook it here on the shock body or the strut body. We'd want to put it there where it goes in, it's not going to damage it. And simply by tightening this up, it's going to pull these guys together in a way that we can get them off. So that's essentially how they work. I guess not all videos turn out here, but this is the reality of life here, right? But there's something else here. I'll show you. I'll make it worth your while here. So let's take this guy off. The guy that helped me build my bike, I called him because we talked about this when we originally built the bike about the spring tension, and this was kind of a bit of a guess, and he said, no problem, just bring it down. I've got a used one that will be like the one you want, and we can swap those out. So let's see if we can figure out how to... I need to get some better soft jaws. They just fall off all the time. This thing is like the definition of insanity. You know, how long do you do that too? Do you struggle with something that's kind of, you know, not done properly or not very well designed and fight it for years and where it would just take a moment to do it right, like these silly jaws. See, the good ones, the good see, the reason for the soft jaws is we're dealing with aluminum or softer metals. These have knurling on them, and they're really, they mark everything. And so I put the soft jaws on there to protect them so that they don't do that. So let's pull this guy off here. Oh, but my point being is the good ones, like the aluminum ones, they wrap around the jaws, and then they have like these arms that tie them together so they don't fall off every time you use the vise. Let's see if we can figure out what holds this spring on here. I haven't actually done this, and it's not in the book. Okay, so we've got a split ring. This is the handiest tool in the world right there. You want one of these little deals for all these sort of things. The chance of this thing flying away and never finding it again is very high, so we want to hold on to that. I want to make sure this goes back the right way too. So when I'm doing stuff, I'm not super familiar with it. I'm really careful about keeping things kind of in order, and what I'll do is I'll stack them in a way that the way they came off. Now, if you're lucky, like when you're doing brakes and things, if you have one side, like even like drum brakes are kind of complicated if you don't do them all the time, and it's easy not to get them put together wrong. So do one side at a time, and that way when you're putting it together, you can go over and you can look at the other side and see that. But there's nothing really complicated there. We've got a washer and a spacer, and then that little keeper deal right there. So that couldn't be any simpler, I guess. I'll have to take that nut out there. Yeah, I'll go get that other spring and then we'll put it back. I'm also going to be putting new springs in the forks too. So let me know if you'd like to see that. I'd be happy to share it. And also, just to help with things, when you have dealing with lots of different bolts, whenever you can, put it back in its hole, and that way you never get them mixed up. You gotta try to come up with little tricks to help you not to make mistakes. Well, since our spring video was a total bust, we have a little extra time. I'll show you. I've made a lot of changes this year from lessons learned last year. So I'll just go over a few of these. I think you might find it kind of interesting. So one of the big fails of last season was my mount for my Trail Tech. This is a computer with a built-in GPS and buddy tracking, so we can track all the kids and all of that. And it's just basically your whole data center all in one. So we don't have to use the phone. It's a Trail Tech. Is it the Voyager Pro? It's really great for motorcycles, and the cool thing about it is that you can take it off. So when you're washing, and it's got its own battery power, so if you want to use the GPS function as a standalone, you can do that, and it just snaps on in a great unit. Problem is I mounted it, right before we went to Moab, I mounted it with just kind of the universal bracket that came with the kit. I had it mounted up here, and how long do you think it took for that to break off? About an hour. And I went over the handlebars and hit my chest protector on it, busted it off, tore all the wires out, and it was useless for the rest of the trip. So when I got back, we've got to do something completely different. So here's what I did, is I built this custom mount here. This is a piece of 2-inch by 1/4 inch aluminum strap. And what I did is I drilled it and put bolts in there and built that little 90-degree bracket. And it just so happened that there was in the top of the clamp was a drilled hole that wasn't being used. So I got a factory bolt and I threaded that in there with Loctite, and you can see this here is bolted all the way through, and it's very strong. I got a longer aluminum bolt here. This is for just tightening up the head bearings, and then Loctite, that holds it on there, so it's very secure. And now this base is mounted directly to those bolts, and it's out of the way, and I'm not going to break it. And the other nice thing, I guess the other feature, was I lost my pad up here when I put this on. Now I got to put my pad back on, so I'm very happy about that. So that turned out really great. It turns with the handlebar a little bit, but it's completely out of the way, and it's protected. You just can't have anything because we ride in the brush, in the trees and all that. Second thing, a lesson I learned the hard way, is these carbon fiber pipe guards are a very bad idea. Yeah, they do protect the pipe to a certain extent, but what they do is that they transfer the energy. And so what happened was when I smashed things and I hit things down here, because this being a 300 two-stroke, it's got a lot of vulnerability with that big pipe sticking out there, right? And so what happens when you put those guards on there, when you hit something, rather than the pipe denting, it transfers all of the energy back up here. And I had a buddy that had the same guard, and he broke his head. All that energy went back, and he broke that aluminum head there, and that cost him about $500. So that is not a good deal. So I talked to some guys that are in the know, and this was the guard that I replaced the old one with. So here was the old SXS guard, which I really liked, but it offered no protection for the pipe. So this is made by Hyde in Europe, and it's a really thick, high-density plastic, and it has a full wrap that's going to protect that pipe. My guy that helped me build my bike told me that he's not had to replace a pipe since he's been putting these on bikes, and it's got a big hole in the center so you don't scoop up mud. But with that came another problem. Now I didn't have any protection for my linkage. And the linkage on these bikes, if you look down here, I've got it disassembled because I'm working on it, hangs down there and catches on stuff. And that's why I went with this here, which is a built-in linkage guard with a skid deal, so to protect all of that. So that is kind of an update. The other thing that I found that was really helpful was I found some awesome air filters. This is true for any motorcycle that goes off-road or dual sport. One of the things that's really a bummer with these air filters, now these are reusable, of course. You wash them with a biodegradable oil. And to get them to seal, when you put your air filters on, they snap in here in a way. Use something called rim grease. And what that does is you essentially just apply a grease around here, around the air box that makes a seal against the filter. Well, the downside of it is that when the bike gets hot in the summer, that grease gets down and it makes a huge mess all over your bike, and then it drips down through the drain and it stains the swing arm, and it's just a disaster. I've never really liked it. This company here, DT Air, they make filters for lots of bikes, and it's a heavy, high-quality neoprene. It's super soft to the touch, and so by having this stuff now, you can simply put your air filter in grease-free. And you put that guy in there like that, snap it in, and no more gunky grease, right? So that's definitely kind of a cool upgrade. Another problem I was having is that this being a two-stroke, it uses reed valves. Two-stroke engines are so fascinating. They're so simple and easy to work on. If you haven't seen a reed valve, this is what it looks like. And this is the one that came factory. So what it is you've got like a carbon fiber little reed deals, and these things open. They open and close, and they fit right into the engine like that. So this kind of meters the air and the fuel that goes into the engine. And these things are opening and closing, I don't know, hundreds of times a minute, maybe thousands, I don't know. But they need to close on the compression stroke. And so it was not running very well, and when I looked at this thing and I held it up, see the light? You should not be able to see light through that. That should be a perfect seal because this is essentially a check valve. And so the bike basically is pushing pressure back into the carburetor, causing problems, and it just didn't seem to be as crispy and as powerful as it should be. And so when I took that out, I realized, oh, that's a problem. And so I replaced it with a higher quality of the V-Force ones you can see in there now. So that also is an upgrade. I broke my kickstand, so I replaced the kickstand as well, and I also replaced all of the vent and the fuel lines, $5, $6 like that, and they look nice and cleans up good. Let's see, what else? I'm also working on a remote choke. Now the choke for the Electron carburetor is tucked clear up underneath the engine, and with my big fat hands with gloves on it, I can't hardly get to it. It's really a struggle. You have to get off the bike, and so I'm doing this remote deal and trying to come up with a bracket here. It's just to show you. So here's the problem with the remote choke. Let's come over to the other side. So the choke on the Electron, of course, fits right in there. There's a little rubber plunger, and then you pull it up to choke and you push it down when it gets warm. It's easy to get to now when I've got the subframe lifted up and all that, but it's very difficult to try to reach. All you have is this little tiny hole right there to try to reach in, and it's really awful. So here's the deal with the remote choke. So I've got a little cable here that's going to go in there and activate it, but I built this little bracket right here. So this little bracket right there's a piece of 1/8 inch aluminum, and I had to put a little twist in it, and that's designed where this will fit right here on this bolt. And then it's got to tuck up underneath the tank, and essentially what it's going to give me is the choke that's going to be remote now here on the outside. So I can just reach down right underneath the tank, it'll be protected, and I can pull that out and I can get to it without getting in there and messing around, trying to get my hand in that little hole. Also, I replaced the pipe with a little more of a performance pipe of a thicker material in combination with the hide guard. I think it's gonna solve all my problems of tearing that up. One last thing I forgot, I was switching to a completely different tire too. I've been running the Shinko 505 gummy tires in the fatty front. I've just loved those tires. I found one that I think is going to be even better. These are made in Australia, and they're made, no, I'm sorry. They're designed in Australia, tested in Australia. They're made in Thailand, but they're great quality. Moto Z, it's made out of real rubber, and it's a super, the tread pattern's more open on it. So I run low pressure on my rear tire, so I run usually 2.5 PSI, and the 505 tire, the knobbies, they kind of, when the tire deforms and squishes around rocks, the knobbies kind of squish together and close it up. This is better spaced out, and we'll see. And it's got a higher quality rubber compound and a really tough carcass, super stiff. So I'm running, this is the Gummy BFM, this is the Stadium, or the Arena Hybrid in a 120 by 18. So I'm excited. I'll be putting this on here tomorrow. For the front, I'm running also the Moto Z. Which one is this? This is the Moto Z Arena, oh, the Mountain Hybrid in a 21. So that's that. Okay, so a couple updates. So I've been working on something in the evenings that's been very challenging and kind of fun. I tried to schedule it last year, but I got started too late and the weather turned and I wasn't able to do it. But I'm putting together a ride for me and some of my better friends where we're going to go all the way from Cascade Locks in Oregon. That's in the Columbia River Gorge. And we're going to ride to the Canadian border and almost all back road and single track. I've got the whole trip that's all plotted. Every night or every day is going to, it's either, I think we're going to do it in either 4 or 5 days. But at the end of the day, every leg ends in a small town somewhere where you can get fuel and something to eat, and if you can get a hotel if you want. I think we're just going to stay in the tent and just be completely independent. We might like roll into town and have dinner, but we'll also be camping on the trail. So it's going to be really exciting, and it's going to be all off-road, all back road. We're going to see some amazing country as we go wander up through Washington State all the way up to the Canadian border. So that has given me a great challenge, and that's to put together a 5 days worth of equipment, all inside 40 liters of bags, which is what I have right here. So I have, this was my challenge, and I think that I've got it. You know, you never really know until you can make all these plans when you're at your house and in your shop, and when you get out on the trail, it's a whole different thing. And that's kind of why, do you know what a Hudson Bay Start is? I've mentioned this in the past. So the Hudson Bay Start was the gold miners and the guys that were jumping off into was it the Alcan or I can't remember, the Klondike, whatever it was, up north, trappers or whatever. They would load up at the Hudson Bay Supply area. That's where you got all your clothing and your rifles and your ammunition and your food for these expeditions. And then they would go out a day's journey, spend the night, and then they would found where they were deficit. And then they would go back and get the things that they hadn't thought about. That was called a Hudson Bay Start. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go out, do an overnighter, see how it goes, what I've forgotten, what works, what doesn't work. But everything right here in these 3 bags. So this is, I think it's 40 liters all combined, or 48 liters, somewhere in there. These are all my waterproof bags that go in my panniers. So in here is tent, sleeping bag, thermarest, food, cooking, extra change of clothes, rain jacket, toiletries, toilet paper, all that sort of thing. It was very hard. My goal was try to keep it around the 10 to 15 pound range, and I think I think I've done that pretty close. I haven't weighed it, but I have to guess. But it all is fitting inside of these 3 bags. In here, of course, is the sleeping bag, and I think the thermarest is in there too, and a micro bath towel. But if you want to see the contents of this, let me know in the comments. We could take a video on that, but it was hard, man. I packed and repacked these things a dozen times because I just couldn't make it work, you know, and I had to keep stripping down until I got to the point where I'm at. But let me know if you'd like to see that. Also, I will potentially open that up to anyone who would like to join us. In the next couple weeks or so, we'll probably nail down the date when we're going to do that, and we will be leaving from, as I said, Cascade Locks, Oregon, and then going up north to the Canadian border, and we're going to see some amazing country. So who can come? I guess anybody that with an adventure bike or a dirt bike, something that you can pack your gear on. I don't know, don't want to bring a Goldwing, but you don't have to be super, it's not going to be super hardcore or extreme. It's going to be a lot of double track dirt roads, some single track, a very tiny amount of pavement riding, not very much. So if you have knobbies, you're going to want to be street legal as much as you can. Could you get by without being street legal? Yeah, we could probably do some workarounds, but you'll have to communicate to me. So contact me, Cody@Wranglerstar.com, if that's something you want to do. It's going to be an epic trip. Lord willing, we'll go this year, but I have been planning it for over a year now and put a lot of thought into it, and it's going to be one of those things that is going to be that you'll remember your entire life. And how fun if we had a good group of people. So I'm not going to make it a huge event, and I'm going to be very discerning on who's going to come. Because I'm very discerning on who I ride with, primarily because we ride so far away from services and vehicles, and I don't want to go with someone that doesn't know how to work on their bike and doesn't keep their bike maintained. Yeah, problems are going to happen. I do everything in my power, my buddies, everything in our power to try to accommodate these, or try to account for these things by having the right parts, the right tools. Sometimes you just have to be really clever, but I don't want to ride with someone who doesn't work on their bike, hasn't maintained it, and get out in the middle, 40 miles from the middle of nowhere, and break something or something fall off for lack of maintenance, because their problem becomes everyone else's problem, and you don't know what problems are until you try to get a 250-pound motorcycle out of the middle of a canyon that won't run. Yeah, it might just have to stay there, and you pack it out on a pack board piece by piece. So that's that. But more to come on that. Let me know. Kind of start making those connections, and we'll see where it goes. All right, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry it didn't really end up what I was, or it didn't really work. Or whatever. We'll see you guys in the next video.